You are listening to a Dynamic Works Productions podcast. This show is available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio Network, and many, many more podcast services around the world. You can find all our content, music, videos, books, podcasts, and more on our website, www.dynamicworksproductions.com. Have questions, comments, or concerns for us? Head on over to the social tab on www.dynamicworksproductions.com if you'd like to talk to us. Now, on with the show. Welcome to another episode of the Fork in Your Ear podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tim K. Trotter. Joining me today from a mere 7 minutes away via Skype call is the lovely, illustrious Jessica Mello.
Hello, good morning, or evening, actually, not good morning. The fuck?
It could be good morning somewhere, wherever you're listening to this now, in this pre-recorded podcast. And long returning, long absent, not shot and killed and hunted down an endangered species legal eagle, Nathan Wolf.
Naywolf, hello. Good to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been like a month, basically. Pretty much, I think. Possibly. I could be wrong. So we're gonna sort of roll some of our topics together because over last weekend, myself and Jessica did a live panel for Rising Tide at the first ever Renton City Comic Con 2016, of which Nate was totally not present for.
For shame.
It's like an 8-hour drive. I don't feel that bad.
It's not that long.
I feel
maybe,
partially bad.
Maybe round trip. You should feel pretty bad. Like they even had a chair for you and a mic, and you were just not there.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time. I'd like to hear all about it.
Well, you can listen to that Rising Tide when I edit it, which is not today. It's not up yet as of this recording, Wednesday, November 2nd. But I guess there will be a video of it, according to the AV people, because one thing we didn't know about it when we recorded it was we were videotaped, because that's a word people use these days, videotaped. And we were live streamed to Twitch. And while the show had a fairly invested 4 whole real people in front of a room that probably sat 50, 60. We had about 230, 280 Twitch viewers.
You're constantly like lowering the number. We had 260 people view in.
Well, what you said.
That's pretty good. How many people were there live for it? Was it in like a?
I literally
live.
just said.
It was 260 live people viewing.
Oh, live. Okay, okay. Sorry, I thought that was people watching it on Twitch.
That is people watching it on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Live.
How many people were there watching it like in person?
I just said 4.
That's what I mean.
4.
There's 4. There's
Oh.
4 Marvel diehards in front of us. We were the first show of the day at a brand new Comic Con, first ever. Real small, but had cool stuff there, and it was a Sunday, so for our first ever live panel, I'd say that was pretty good. But that's Rising Tide, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, which you can get on iTunes. We obviously won't talk about that show because that's the show we record tomorrow, and that I did a recording of it, but I also know that there's a video that I guess will be being sent to me via email from the AV team there, who was wonderful. So what me and Jessica specifically will be talking about is our experience before the panel and after the panel. And Nate can chime in on any sorts of regular topics that he would have for the fork in your ear if he remembers how to podcast, which is a big question.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, me and Jessica drove up in the morning, and I'd been stressing about it all day because, like, I didn't have slide. I mean, I had slides prepared, but I was like nervous about like I'd never done a slide thing. Like, I didn't know what the setup was going to be like.
He was basically freaking out the entire morning.
It's true.
And I was chill. As all
you
fuck.
were a little nervous. You said you were a little nervous.
I was a little nervous, but again, I never show it on my face. And I was more nervous
what do you mean?
about talking.
What do you mean slides though? Was it like, you mean like PowerPoint? Or like
we
a
had we had a slide.
Or like a slideshow, like pictures?
Okay. Yes. Okay. I had pictures,
yeah.
And I just opened them up in preview on a Mac, which is just the basic open a photo built-in thing, super simple. I hit the arrow keys to control the pics, and that's what I did.
Cool.
Yeah, so we had our Rising Tide logo up there, and we had some images from the last week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and episode 2 of Luke Cage, and then some stuff from
which we could not talk about at all.
Yeah, because like we knew going into it that like we don't know how many people we have and stuff, and we also didn't know we were going to be live stream. And so like I had written up this plan that was like, I feel like we should be talking more in depth about this on Rising Tide rather than here. But anyway, like we had a plan, we did the panel. The 4 people there were really cool. They just threw in questions when they had questions.
Was it interactive? Like,
yeah, they interact with us for sure. Like we would talk about stuff, and they'd just sort of throw in questions. Sometimes we'd ask if they had questions. Sometimes they didn't. Other times they'd just be like, "Well, what about that thing in the stuff? And wasn't there blah 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 about blah?" And that's what we did. But in terms of talking about it before and after, so Adam was with us. Our Adam Burgess, our other podcaster mate, usual co-host on Rising Tide and co-founder, and we'd been set up 45 minutes before showtime at 11 a.m. Had all the HDMI cables in, had my studio mic, had it set on special settings so I could pick up the whole room pretty nicely, actually. A little bit of echo, obviously, because it's a room, but so I have a recording of it that's pretty decent. I haven't edited it yet. I listened to it a little bit. It's good. I mean, it sounds, good.
Good.
And had all of these things plugged in, had my mic plugged in, projector was going, everything was set up perfect. AV guys had gone back to their little hidey hole or whatever, because they would be looking at us because they had 2 cameras on us, apparently. They had one in the back room and one aside. And Adam apparently had a bet with Jessica that he could run a lap around the whole conference hotel. It's a Red Lion Hotel in Renton, Washington. Because I was talking about something. What was the thing?
Yeah, you were talking to those 2 guys at that first table because we had gone into the vendors afterwards. And Tim's sitting there yapping away. And Adam's like, I bet, he pretty much said, I know that I could wander around the entire hotel, look at everything, and come back, and Tim would still be at that first table. And guess what Adam did? He wandered around, came back, and Tim's still at that first fucking table.
Oh, I thought that happened. I was talking about the thing that happened 4 minutes to showtime.
No.
Oh,
That was
okay.
after. It was like way after.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I guess that happened.
What happened?
So 4 minutes before showtime,
then?
Adam was coming back into the room. He'd gone to the bathroom or something, and
how dare he?
And like, there's cables draped across the floor, all the important cables, between like the projector and my computer and my mic and the wall. And so there's like tables on one side of the room and then, projector screen on the right. And so in front of us, where the audience would not step, was all these cables. And Adam was like, being, you've met Adam now in person. He's a tall, gangly person.
Yes.
And he goes, well, I should definitely not trip over these cables. And he did his Adam laugh, like, that would be awful. And so he steps over with his right foot, but forgetting his fucking tallness, his left foot drags, yanks all of the fucking cables out. The projector, like, jerks to the side, like, the mic cord comes out, and I'm just like, it's 4 fucking minutes to showtime! And he's like, I got it. And he's just like plugging shit into other shit and like trying to get the setting back, and the AV dude like came out of nowhere, like fucking jogging in, like, I got it,
Don't touch it, you're just gonna make it worse.
Yeah, actually, Adam did pretty good at plugging this stuff in and stuff.
Well, he's the one who figured out how to get the slides up, because Tim was absolutely lost.
It's true. I'd never hooked a Mac into a projector before. I did not know what I was doing. It kept wanting to like connect via USB, and I wasn't. I was connected via HDMI, and I was like, fuck you, projector thing.
And all you needed to do was press one button.
Well, it was only a giant button, and it was only clearly marked. So I don't know how you expected me. I don't know how you expected me to figure that out. Just 'cause, like, I mean, really. So stupid. So anyway, yeah, we did the show. There's a lot of recording of the pre-show, which will be in the outtakes section as usual in Rising Tide. So you'll be able to listen to the whole thing and hear how it goes. And when the video is up, I plan on throwing it up on our YouTube page, of course.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Which, I hope it has buttons on our website, Nate. That button on our website?
I hope so too.
Oh my god.
Oh, good lord. Should I just do like a crash course of coding and just do it myself?
It's not bad, but what we really need that neither of us have managed to do is to actually go through the entire site.
Yeah, we really need to do that, because there's some
and figure out
some shit.
Read everything, see if I'm sure there's some typos, probably figure out what needs to be added, what needs to be taken away, what needs to be moved.
We should
and then because I could sit down in an hour and do it all.
Yeah, I know. But I know you keep saying that.
Well, he has children, and children take up the majority of time.
He has a child who is much more grown than Adam's.
Tim.
What?
Even one child takes up a lot of fucking time.
I'm telling you, child trank darts. Just use them. Anyway, so yeah, no, it was really cool, just like doing the panel in general. It was pretty much exactly how I imagined it, because everything got fucked up before showtime, but then somehow we made it. And we just we did our show as always. Just it was really cold in the room, though.
You're always cold.
Yeah, I will. Well, Adam even wore his fucking.
But they hadn't had the heater turned on. Once the heater got turned on, everything was fine.
Yeah, it's true. It was like fucking frozen in the room. But anyway, show went well. People liked it. Apparently we were good triple-digit numbers on Twitch, which was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure. had to do some divergences to not spoil shows because our real audience members in the audience were a couple episodes behind. So did that stuff. But they seemed to enjoy it. I mean, they stayed, so that's good.
Like the entire time.
Yeah, and then they stayed after and talked to us too, which was nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we wandered around the show floor, which had like sort of 3 main sort of ballroom things. I think you made a note, Jessica, that like you liked how they had it separated out between like the artists were in like one room, and then sort of the selling
the
stuff
vendors. Yeah, because
was in another.
In other Comic Cons that I've been to, they've always had them meshed together. And sometimes when you want to just look at the art stuff, it's really hard to just look at just the art stuff because you get distracted with other things, or other stuff catches your eye and people shove things in your face. And so I kind of liked being able to just look at the art if I just want to look at art and stuff. So
yeah, and speaking of stuff, I have all the business cards that we collected, so I just wanted to give a shout out.
Well, you collected.
Well, yeah, it's true. She kept complaining because I kept talking to every fucking person.
Yes,
there.
You talk to everybody. Forever.
Yeah, I guess whatever.
And you claim to not be a social butterfly.
I'm really not, I swear to God. Like
I think you kind of are. I think we're like opposites like that. I think I could go like a month.
Adam,
I could go like a month without talking to anybody and be totally happy.
Adam is a social butterfly. Like, I won't talk to people if I'm not interested in their shit. Yeah, I'm just totally, I'm just not a social butterfly. Like, you can feel free to say that. Adam is the true social butterfly. We'll talk to anyone about anything.
That's
forever.
Very true, actually.
I'm like a halfway step between Nate and Adam, probably, in the scale of stuff.
When it really meshed was when we were at Adam's in-laws' house, like sitting in the backyard watching the boats or whatever, and his mother-in-law's out there, and Adam's just blah 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 blah, and I'm sitting here like super awkward. I don't know what this like. Can we just go?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, and I think you're probably somewhere in between.
I mean, I guess I don't feel that way, but I mean, I feel, sort of like awkward or like timid sometimes coming up to people. But at the same time, though, like the setting in comparison to like other Comic Cons, like it was way more intimate. It was really small. Oh, yeah. It was really low key. All of the public there was like really nice, and like we're really like jiving to be there, which was pretty cool. Like it had a really good vibe. Like it had a really nice sort of like everybody's welcome vibe, And it's a new con, so rules are pretty loose.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But didn't you say good? But wasn't it your friend that like organized the whole thing?
He organized like pretty much like a good part of it. Like he had some work to do with the vendors. He organized all of the panels apparently. And like there's like a Z Nation panel there where they had some cast members and producers, and they screened next 2 weeks of episodes or something. Like, which is pretty cool because that's Sci-Fi's zombie show that Jessica likes and my dad's a big fan of, actually.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
Cool.
So that's cool. They had stuff, and they had like sponsorships from like GMC and shit there, and like Oni Press was there, and
I saw your post about the Boy Scout book.
Oh, and yeah. Like totally gonna talk about that.
And like Oni's actually like a really like legit.
Oh yeah, no, they do Scott Pilgrim
like label. Yeah,
for real.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought it up, I guess I might as well talk about it first, since that was definitely the highlight of talking to people.
Well, just
Jessica's
consider
gonna
it
hate me because like I talked a really long time.
I liked those guys, and I actually kind of, me and the artist guy Greg, he kind of went back and forth about coconuts on Twitter. So
yeah, I heard that. I was wondering what the shit that was about. Like, so funny. So I had heard about Junior Braves of the Apocalypse. I think it was IGN had like a really positive review of the comic book, whatever, right? And so I saw like this Junior Brave stand there, and there was a gal running the booth, whose name I don't remember, but it ended up being the wife of this guy, Greg Smith, who was the co-author of Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, Volume 1, A Brave is Brave. And he wasn't there, and she was there, and I was like, so I'd heard really good reviews about this book online, like, what's the pitch, or whatever, and then she's like, well, have you seen, it's like Goonies meets The Walking Dead, and then Jessica starts ribbing me in the side, this stupid person hasn't seen Goonies.
Oh yeah, you gotta see it.
It's such a good movie.
Well, we'll get there.
It's fun.
And then I was like, okay.
Well, technically we have till tomorrow to view it, so.
Oh yeah, he did.
Here's the deadline. I haven't even started Stranger Things.
Yeah, well, I'd like to do that one with you because it's super good.
That was really fun too. I recommend it. It was good.
Yeah. And while Nate has seen Stranger Things, he has not completed his rite of Firefly Passage. In the years that I have known him.
I've watched Luke Cage.
That's true. Me and Jessica are super behind. But we've also been trying to like do one a week for the show that you haven't been on.
I know.
Anyway, me and her had a really good chat, and like I looked at the book, the art was really nice, and and it seemed like and I think I had mentioned something about like so like I know there's like a lot of like zombies and like Boy Scout stuff in the media, but they usually just like make fun of Boy Scouts, and like I'm a Boy Scout, and like, does this book make fun of it? And she was like, funnily enough, my husband who wrote it, he's an Eagle Scout. And I was like, get out of here. I'm an Eagle Scout too. And then she's like, are you from around here? And I was like, yes. And then we got to talking, and then she was like, well, you should like come back in 10 minutes when my husband comes back and like talk it up and stuff. And I was like, I will. And I like bought the book then and stuff. And so I came back and met the husband, who was a cool, he's just a really nice dude, And so I came back and was talking to Greg Smith, the co-author of this Junior Braves of the Apocalypse comic book by Oni Press, which you can find anywhere because it's Oni Press. And I was like, so I was telling, oh no, how did I do it, Jessica? Did I not say anything and I just like pulled out my card?
Basically.
Yeah, that's what I did. So when you make Eagle Scout, you get like this gold card that's like you're legit an Eagle Scout rank in the Boy Scouts, which is the highest rank that you can attain, and only 2% of any people who enter Boy Scouts attain this rank. So it's like high honor and all that sort of shit. Anyway.
Fancy.
So I had a card, and I'm digging around in my wallet, and he's like, I don't know what's happening here. He's digging something out of the wallet. And I pull out the card, and I slap the card down, like dramatically, because I guess that's what I did. And he looked at it, and he was like, oh, hey, you're an Eagle Scout too. And then, like, we got to talking, and so, like, it was so surreal. So it turns out he grew up in the area that I grew up in, Puyallup, South Hill, and he went to a local high school here, and he was in a Boy Scout troop, 516, with numbers, and I was in a competing Boy Scout troop, also called 516 with Roman numerals, and his troop was actually my rival troop.
Oh, funny.
and so we just got into it. We started swapping like Boy Scout stories, and he'd been to like all the camps that I'd been to, and like we were just like going on and on. It was just like the coolest. It was just like the coolest thing, and like we were talking, and I was like, well, I already bought your book, but like, what's the author pitch? And he's like, okay, well, it's like Goonies meets like The Walking Dead. And then I was like, I haven't seen Goonies. And he was like, oh! You haven't seen Goonies?
You know it was filmed in Astoria?
Goonies?
Yeah.
I don't know what the movie's about, so okay.
It's kind of like...
Astoria is a bumfuck town. I'm just saying it right now.
It's kind of like Stand By Me, kind of.
Okay, I love Stand By Me.
It's like a bunch of kids. It's like Stand By Me meets Indiana Jones. The kid from Indiana Jones is in it. The guy that plays Short Round or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, cool. Okay. See, you should have led with that, Jessica. Like,
well, and also the main character is the actor who plays as
Samwise Genji.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. And so then he was really shocked by that, and then he was like, okay, well, it's like all of our Boy Scout adventures meets The Walking Dead. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, and like we were talking about stuff, and somehow we got into Stranger Things.
Oh, because you threw me under the bus saying, well, she hasn't seen Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah, it's true. And then again, he went, oh! And then he's like, okay, you two have homework. You guys, she has to see Stranger Things by Wednesday, and you have to watch Goonies by Wednesday. Which, of course, it's Wednesday, so we failed. I'm sorry, Greg Smith.
I know.
But that came up because his wife, who does Sweet Girl GYRL Designs, gifts for geeks and gals, handcrafted items / 80s vintage. She does that stuff on Etsy.com, and she had like Stranger Thing hats, like from the that one character, the white hat with the blue and the red. Nate knows what I'm talking about. And so most of our listeners who've seen Stranger Things.
But I don't.
Yeah, anyway, she had those hats there that she'd made herself, and they were like super cool. And I hadn't quite realized it yet. But anyway, it was super cool, and like I'm reading the book now. So that's going well. It's a very nice hardbound book, first volume. I don't know if it was in like a real, like 12 issues a year print thing or not. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if Oni Press does that kind of stuff. But anyway,
yeah, I'm not sure.
What I do remember, because Jessica freaked the fuck out, and I was even a little enamored by it, was because like we got to talking so long, and we had like so much shared reality on like going to the same camps and like camp counselors and like all this sort of stuff.
His wife and I were just kind of standing there very awkwardly as they just kind of went on and on and on and on.
Yeah, we talked we talked for like an hour and 20 minutes.
You knew that like SpongeBob meme. 27 years later.
Sure. But he was like, you know what? I'm gonna give you my personal card, and he pulls out of his back pocket like a little card. Business card case, but it's like like metal, and it's the Han Solo and carbonite, and it had like a little button and like a drawer like slides out slowly with his business cards, and I'm just like, that is the coolest fucking business card thing ever. And he's like, no, right? And Jessica's like, someone else's imagination.
Well, if I got an offer for you,
I don't want
Buster,
it. I
for
need
only
it.
$2.99, you could be reading
awesome.
The Citadel, a rifle by
That
Tim
was
K.
appropriate.
So what are you waiting for,
presentation
bub?
for business
Push that
cards.
pedal
It's
to the
pretty
metal
sweet.
and open your wallet for all the
So I'm
thrills,
definitely gonna
danger,
be
and a little bit of romance you could want from an
Apparently super
e-pulp.
local.
Again, that's only $2.99 for the Citadel rifle by Tim K. Trotter. Hell,
So he was
that's
super
as cheap
cool.
as buying
His
a
wife
show
was
or a
super
game from the
sweet.
internet, kid. Get on
So
it now.
I encourage our
Hell,
listeners of The Fork in Your Ear to check out Greg Smith co-authors Junior Braves. of the Apocalypse, available now on Oni Press and wherever fine comic books are sold, as well as his wife's Sweet Girl, GYRL, designs on Etsy. So there you go. That stuff.
Very cool.
What was the coolest thing that you saw at the con that was not our panel there, Jessica?
Well, there was this prop maker, these people, famous cosplayers.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called now. Crap!
The dude, I guess
I
he got commissioned by Bethesda to make the armor for Skyrim.
Yes, and so he had a whole bunch. He had like the iron armor up on display, and he had a couple other things from like Fallout and from Destiny out on display. And I was totally engrossed in them because the detail work was so fantastic, and everything was foam, but it didn't look foam at all.
Yeah, no, it's true. It looked like it was like hard plastics.
Really good.
Like,
and I didn't
really
talking to him for a while.
Yeah, and then I just sort of tuned out because they got all super artsy because Jessica could speak that language, and I'm just like, well, it looks cool. Yep.
Yeah, I got like super.
If I had
like,
money, I'd buy stuff.
Like any artsy thing that I saw, I'm like, oh, look at this and look at that. Tim's just like, it's just lines.
Yep. I mean, it's cool lines. So, I can tell when lines are sexy or not. Speaking of lines that are sexy, I have a couple cards from people. You all should check out Alex Pellier. So that's www.alexpellayre.com. He does cool ass art and like designs and stuff, as well as there's a cool gal, Lisa Price, who does illustration design, and you can find her at www.prielloart.com. That's Lisa Price. She does really cool stuff. And I thought gal Torian Deer, illustrator, character designer, super good. Doesn't have a website, but she's got a blog, and that's blog.orange-zombie.com, or you could probably connect up with her on Twitter at DEARMSDEAR. I think that's Dearmsdeer. So there you go.
Wow.
I don't know. I didn't do the thing. And once again, that's blog.orange-zombie.com for Torian Deer, illustrator, character designer. Really, really cool art stuff from those guys. I thought they were particularly spectacular. So you should check those out for cool arts. And I'll be posting some pictures of the con, anything that I took and Jessica took, and hoping to get pictures from Brian since he's an actual photographer, so he's probably got really good pictures that I can steal and put on the website to promote the amazingness that was Renton City Comic Con.
Very cool.
Yeah. So another thing that I saw that was super cool was there was the dudes, and they are myopen3d.com, and so they're open source build kits for 3D printers. And it's two dudes. There's an engineer and a guy who actually apparently was writing books a year ago. And he was just really, really intelligent and was able to tell me, who didn't know anything about 3D printing and not so great with technical things, like about 3D printing and stuff. And it was super awesome. He was talking about like approaching 3D printing from the fact that, like, you know, like everybody's had like an HP printer that like breaks down and you don't know why, and you got to send it off to a dude and it costs a bunch of money and it's usually a waste of time, and then you lose interest in the printer and you get a new printer. And he's like, he was finding that that's sort of the case with 3D printers that you can buy in the open market, and so he thought, well, why don't I build my own 3D printer with help from an industrial designer, and make sure that the people who buy it, A, are buying a good product, and B, they're able to assemble it with a book that's as simple as like a Lego book and put it together. And so you know where all the pieces go and you know what does what. And so if anything breaks down, you can fix it yourself, or you could make your printer build something to fix it, which is pretty cool. But he had like all these examples of stuff, and he had this Iron Man gauntlet, like prop thing. And
is that the picture?
Yeah, there's a video with that.
That's pretty cool.
So it's all like there's all electronics on the inside, which I felt a little unsafe about because I had my skin on a bunch of circuit boards and batteries and stuff. But it was all like motion and finger controlled, and so like based on motion and stuff, it would like power down and stuff, just like Iron Man, like like those noises. And if you jerked
it looked really cool.
And if you jerked it up, it would go really bright and like do the and like make the little blast noise. And I was just having way too much fun with that fucking thing.
Yeah, a little too much fun there.
Yeah, and I think you can see in the picture that I sent you, Nate, that it's so friggin' bright that it caused like J.J. Abrams' lens flare on the iPhone camera of all things. Like that's how friggin' bright these LEDs were, and it was like a whole array of them. It was super cool. And he was like, that's just an example of something you can build with 3D printing. And he had all these things, and it was just super cool. So I'd encourage anybody who's interested in 3D printing, particularly open design 3D printing, to check out myopen3d.com. And they have open source build kits, as well as they also have assembled kits, of course, for a little more money. And they're pretty reasonably priced. I mean, I don't know what the going rate is for a thing, nor do I remember the prices of those things, but it sounded reasonable when he told me the price stuff. So that was cool. Do you have stuff to say about stuff, Jessica?
No, not really. I mean, nothing that really caught my eye.
Because I feel like I'm the only one talking on this show.
Well, you saw a lot of stuff and talked to a lot of different people.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I mostly just browse, is what I normally do at these cons. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I saw that's kind of cool, but nothing really caught my eye as much as that prop dude did.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What about that comic book that you got that you're reading?
Oh, monstrous! It is.
Is it
really, really? It's good. I haven't finished it yet, but it's really, really good. The story is very unique, I find, and it's really well written, really well paced. I mean, because I'm the artsy person, the art in it is the most intriguing thing and the most beautiful thing to look at. It is so detailed in every aspect of this comic book. I mean, even the clothes that some of these people are wearing have these most intricate patterns, and they are so well done and so well colored. It is really pretty.
It was funny because we were looking at like maybe some new comics to like pick up or look at or whatever, and we were looking at a vendor of the Comic Hut, which is a local comic shop that I guess has been around for 25 years, which is really good for a comic book store to still be around that long. But they're in Renton, Washington. And the Comic Hut guys was just like, oh, yeah, that book's like really good. And it was funny because like what caught my eye about it was that it had an endorsement from Neil Gaiman, the author, on there. And he was
sweet.
like, this book is really just like, it's something special, you know? And then
Neil Gaiman is my favorite author, like of all time.
He's pretty.
I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew you really liked him because like I really like him too. I've
read his comics, but I've read all his books. Like his books are super good.
I have not read enough of his stuff, but I totally love all of the stuff of his that I've read and or seen.
What's it called? Monstrous?
Monstrous, yeah.
Yeah, it's just plain the regular spelling of it. Jessica?
Is it by Source Point Press? Is that the one?
I'd have to double check on that.
Well, what's on the cover?
It's a picture of a chick with black hair and like a wooden arm, I think.
But anyway,
I bought this. I bought this one when it first came out because I heard it was really good. I have this.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
It's in my Comixology, Tim. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, there you go. Okay.
Because the reviews were really good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read the thing from Neil Gaiman on the cover, and it had a longer Neil Gaiman thing on the back, and I was like, oh, that's enough for me. And I opened it up, and I was like, that art looks cool. And I opened it up, and Jessica goes, oh my God, the art is gorgeous.
It is.
And she was just like, all right, we need to get this. And the dude was chuckling because he's like, yep, one of you's like into the writing. Yep, that's what does it for me. The other's into the art. I think I got a sale here. And I was like, yes, you do, good sir. So that was just really funny. I also talked to another local art author who also has her own indie publishing label. It's Kate Marie Collins. She's an author of fantasy novels with dashes of romance in them. I don't know exactly how many books she's written, but on her table she had a lot of books. There were many books there. And she was lovely to chat to. And she had like very good tips and stuff for new authors like myself. And if you want to check out her works, you can check out her as an author at katemariecollins.wordpress.com, or you can check out her publishing arm at solsticepublishing.com, and that's Kate Marie Collins. And she was just a lovely person and had very good stories and interesting insight on the world of not just publishing, but e-publishing and, keep going and stuff as an author. So that's definitely, she was just really lovely to talk to.
Nice.
Let's see. Then from there, we found our way to Brian's booth, which...
What in the world is going on over there?
I'm sorry. I am... They're watching the World Series.
No worries.
This is what I get no matter where I go in this house. And I tell people, oh, yeah, I'm recording. Make sure you keep it down. They yell their heads off anyway.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Let's see. What do we do after that? Then we meandered sort of into that like weird large hallway thing where Brian had his booth, who helped set it up, and he had some cosplay people he knew running it. But then Jessica, much to her chagrin, because I talked to her for like an hour or whatever, there's this cosplay gal there, and she was doing this fucking awesome, perfect Natasha Romanoff, like with the Age of Ultron suit thing, and she had the hair down and like the whole thing, and she was like really into cosplay and Marvel, and we were talking about Marvel for like an hour on end and stuff, and like how she knew Brian, and she's just started doing a podcast, so there'll probably be a crossover podcast with Rising Tide pretty soon. So it's like
cool.
Yeah, it was just really cool, and she was just really sweet and stuff. And her kids.
It seems like a really good like networking thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It sounds like you made like a lot of connections, so it's really good, especially for the writing and the podcasting and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, not like a shit ton of connections, but like everybody's local, so that's cool. And that
certainly is more convenient.
Good. Yeah, that's true. That's for sure. But yeah, no, it was super cool and stuff. And she was super sweet, and she had a friend with her, and she was in like a cool like bard outfit thing. And she said she had her kids. She had a little boy and a little girl, like in costumes, but they didn't want to wear them because they were uncomfortable. So they were just in regular clothes today. And then. Yeah, and then we had interesting experience going up to our little special, because we had little special guest badges, which I felt cool about. And they had boss artwork on them. Tell them about the artwork on the badges, hon.
They had an image of Link and Zelda on them. That's basically all I got about it.
It was really detailed, looked super good. Like, any Zelda fan would be like, oh, that was a cool art piece to have on your Comic-Con badge.
Yeah, that's cool.
For sure. Yeah, and we went up and we had some food that was provided to us because we were special. And talked to some of the what did they call the volunteers? They had a special name.
Sidekicks.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. Which totally is probably something Brian came up with. Which was another thing that was cool about Brian Morris, one of the masterminds behind Renton City Comic Con 2016, was he got to, because he did all the panels, he got to name the panel rooms. So they had cool stuff like the Construct, the Holodeck, the Captain's Lounge, and stuff like that. And it was just like, oh, Brian. But it was cool. We got to talk to the sidekicks, and like some people had come from like, it sounded like they'd come from like Kentucky or someplace to do this. Like,
wow,
they're really into indie Comic Cons as a thing. Like,
I guess so.
Cool.
That's a
yeah. And then one of the AV people there, like, got to talk to her, and she was talking about how, like, oh yeah, no, I was the one who filmed you guys. And then I was like, oh, how did we do? And stuff. And like, it was just like super cool, and like talking to people, and everybody was just super friendly. And Jessica, you should talk about the that alternate clay substance thing with the dragon.
The dragon thing, it's just clay. It's like a cement clay, and they were building things like dragons, and mostly dragons. But it was really, really awesome.
But that dragon was like the size of a car.
Yeah, it was really well done. I mean, they really took their time with it, and really was shaping this dragon to be really, really detailed for a like statue. And it was really, really cool.
Do you guys take a picture of it?
Yeah, it's in the pictures that I sent you.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'll double check then.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Jessica was pointing out to me like, oh my gosh, look at the underside of the chin. And I was like, yeah, what? And yeah, she's like, look at how detailed that shit is. And I was like, oh, okay.
What amazed me is that most sculptors in this medium kind of don't put any detail work on certain sections because you're not going to see it normally unless you're looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
But they did detail work in every single nook and cranny of this dragon. And so I was really super amazed, like, on the under chin that they really did do the scale work and stuff. So
yeah. Oh, sure.
And I'm probably boring Tim with all this artsy talk.
No, not completely boring me. I'm just thinking maybe we should let Nate talk about something.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm looking at the picture. Hold on. Let's. There's you wearing the glove. There's some other stuff, and some people, and some stuff.
Lots
and there's
stuff.
Robert. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, wait. Yeah, that's huge. Wait, what's with all the tinfoil?
That's what you use to shape things and help you sculpt.
It was also raining, so that might have been a thing.
Well, you mean that's how you shape stuff, because you have to have something on underneath the sculpture to help shape things. Otherwise, you're going to have like a 5-ton sculpture that you can't move.
Well, already then.
Wait, no, I don't understand. Like the wings are covered in tinfoil and the tail's covered in. So
you need tinfoil on the wall of the frame.
So that part doesn't have the clay on top of it yet, or the cement or whatever. I see.
Yeah.
No, otherwise it would be like 5 tons or whatever.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's really smart. Okay, I understand now. So these guys were like building it there.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Not even gonna lie. I totally just spaced. What's happening?
How do you even transport something like that?
Oh, that? I have no idea.
It was on a pallet, so I'm sure they just use a hand truck to help move it to something else that will help lift it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, perhaps. For work the next day, I drove by that area, and it was in the tents because they had 3 giant tents set out back of the Red Line, and they were still breaking down those tents when I drove by about 10 a.m. on Monday. So they obviously still had some deconstructing to do on things. Yeah. Somebody did stuff.
Yeah, I'm really trying to cover the mic as best I can whenever I hear them start yelling. And it's funny because they don't like either of these teams.
Sports. Do the thing. Score the points. Do the stuffs.
Right.
I will turn you one day.
Indeed. So did you have any topics to bring to the table there, Nate?
Yeah, I actually did.
Sweet. Hit me.
So.
And her, but hit me twice because she's a lady.
Oh, I can throw myself a punch, so I can hit back very hard.
So a couple things. Video games coming out pretty soon. I know you were playing the demo. Final Fantasy 15 comes out at the end of the month.
Christ, yeah, it went gold. It's really, really coming out. Did you hear the thing that they announced?
I didn't hear anything about it at all, so you should just tell me.
Well, they have a season pass, and there'll be like little side stories where you play as each of the dudes. But the very last DLC in the season pass is a whole friggin' full 4-player online co-op dungeon crawler.
Oh.
And I'm like, with that combat system, that sounds tasty. I guess it takes place in a dream or some shit, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. I'm thinking basically just wave after wave of enemies, pretty much. That's what I'm thinking.
You played a bunch of the demo, right? So
yeah, I played the shitty platinum demo, which is not a good representation of the game. I'll say that right now because it's 30 minutes, super short. There's some secrets in it, and it's just sort of like a weird product in general. Because episode Duske, which is 8 hours long, is an actual slice from the final game, and was released 2 years ago, and is super amazing. I've spent probably 20 hours in it because it's so amazing. Love the combat system, love the story, love the graphics, love every fucking thing about Final Fantasy 15. I even saw the movie Kingsglaive. So check that shit out if you're really into.
Yeah, it says November 29. Is that correct?
Yes, that is indeed correct. So we got a whole.
Sweet.
What is that? That's 20.
Well, it's at the end of the month,
28 days later. Oh, snap!
Except it's 27 days later, but still.
No, it's 28 days later.
It comes out on the 29th, and today's the 2nd.
God damn it! I was trying to make a fucking classic zombie movies joke. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You fail.
Okay, so I have a couple other things though that I'm. So this is the reason this even came up is because I'm sitting here trying to look at Christmas ideas and stuff. But I'm pretty stoked on. Looks like Kingdom Hearts is finally moving forward a little bit. Which
what?
Well, they're releasing.
Are you a Kingdom Hearts person?
Well,
it's
I played
Disney. What the fuck do you think?
Yeah. So hey,
I played one.
Hold on. This is important because anybody who's listening, me and Jessica are in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and she's not a huge fan of PlayStation 4, but remastered versions of every single Kingdom Hearts game are coming to PlayStation 4 next spring to prepare you for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes. Okay. So this is what I was getting to because they've released Kingdom Hearts 1.
Sorry.
No.
So Kingdom Hearts 1 came out on the PS2 like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's true. It literally.
And then
I'll look up the timeline actually.
And then Kingdom Hearts 2 came out on the PS2, 3, 2,
No, it's
3,
2.
I don't know.
It did eventually come out on 3.
And 2 was like perfect. 1 was fun. 2 was perfect, I think. And then they came out with like 8 different Game Boy games and a bunch of little mini prologue 1.5 to 2.5.
I will tell you exactly how many games. So, Kingdom Hearts started in 2002. Is Kingdom Hearts PlayStation 2. Then it was Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which was a sequel, a direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts. It came out on the Game Boy Advance 2004. Then Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories came out on Game Boy Advance. I said Kingdom Hearts 2 twice.
That was an awful game, by the way.
Chain of Memories? Yeah,
I hated
they
it.
remade it completely in 3D.
Good, because it was like a card game. It was really rad. It's so weird.
Kingdom Hearts 2 takes place a year after Chain of Memories, and it was on PlayStation 2 in 2005. Then there was Kingdom Hearts Coded, which was an episodic mobile phone game, which then was remade for the Nintendo DS, Kingdom Hearts Recoded. That came out in 2008 and then 2011, respectively. Then there was Kingdom Hearts 358/2 Days was released on Nintendo DS in 2009, and was set between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And then there's Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which is a prequel to the series that was released on the PlayStation Portable in 2010. Which was eventually released. No, that's not relevant. And then there was Kingdom Hearts 3D, Dream Drop Distance. Try saying that 3 times fast. That was released in 2012 for the Nintendo 3DS. And it was about some stuff that's really deep into the lore about stuff in the Kingdom Hearts universe. And then there's Kingdom Hearts X, which apparently came out in 2012 and was only made for the PC. Except there's a port called Kingdom Hearts Unchained X that's coming to iOS soon. Now, they had a remaster of Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 remix that was on the PlayStation 3 that included a brand new 3D version of Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 358/2 Days in that. And then later, they had a Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 remix that contained Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, which is the European version because they got extra shit. And then Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix, which contained extra shit from Europe. And then Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which was the cell phone game, I think. And now, next year, they will get Kingdom Hearts Collector's Pack HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix X fucking Collector's Edition, whatever the shit. I'm throwing words on because it's such a ridiculous title already.
I know,
and it will contain everything and will be released on the PS4 next spring.
Yes, I'm super excited about that. And 2.8 comes out, which is supposed to be, it says Final Chapter Prologue comes out in January.
And that's after all of that shit, but it's its own thing, I guess.
It's its own thing, which I'm kind of frustrated about. And it comes out January 24th. So I don't even understand. Like, it's so convoluted at this point.
So looking at Wikipedia, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue is...
It doesn't even make sense. It's like, Barry, stop messing with the timeline.
Right. Stop it. So it's theorized to have a collection of an HD remaster of Dream Drop Distance, which didn't get a remaster, but just got re-released, as well as Kingdom Hearts. I think that's an X, but it's like a squiggly X. I'm looking at just Wikipedia, so I don't know. I'm not sure what that symbol is. Kingdom Hearts Squiggly X back cover, which is set to tell the tale of the foretellers and reveal new parts of the series' history in HD cinematics, as well as containing Kingdom Hearts 0.2. Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, which is a new part of the story taking place at the events of the original Birth by Sleep. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it regardless.
Fucking luck figuring out the fucking story to this shit. At the very least, the characters are cool. Seeing all the Disney stuff and the Final Fantasy stuff together is super cool. And the games, at the end of the day, at the very least, the main ones that I've played and Jessica's played and Nate's played for sure are fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
So anyway, cool.
And then the other stuff that I'm really looking forward to, I don't know if you guys ever saw the trailer for it, was the Konami game with Norman Reedus, Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, no, I saw a trailer for that. But
the trailer was super. I mean, that's
going to be like 5 years off though.
Nah, I know.
Because it's a Kojima game with a mostly new team. And Kojima takes his goddamn time with his games. But to be fair, when they come out, they're phenomenal. I'm still playing Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Still getting enjoyment out of it. Haven't beat everything in it.
Neither have I, although I
just got like a floaty walking like Metal Gear tank thing.
The Batman Telltale series is out.
I've played the first episode.
How is it? Is it good?
Yeah. I don't it's really weird because I love the actor Troy Baker. He's voicing Batman and Bruce Wayne. Obviously a great Bruce Wayne, but his Batman's weird. I'm just gonna say it. His Batman's a little weird. To their credit, they do the voice modulation thing, like they did for Batman v Superman, which I like. Actually, I know some people don't like that. I like it. I've played the first episode. I bought the season pass, but it's interesting because it's not tied to any previous Batman thing. And so they, like in the first episode, like I'll just say a thing that's a bit of a spoiler, but you'd see it in like the first hour and a half anyway. They play with like conventions of the villains. Like Bruce Wayne grew up with Cobblepot. Boom, there's some shit that's weird. And like they play with different conventions. But as far as being a Batman and being like Detective Batman, it's pretty good at the detective stuff. It's definitely got a lot of quick time events for sure. At least
I want to play it, but at the same time, I'm not like itching to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back to it yet, but I've also been super busy with other things, and this new pretty lady I have that's on the podcast right now, and
that would be me.
Then her giving me the death plague, so it's out of commission for like October.
That bad? Did you die?
No.
Exactly.
But that was only because you commanded the plague not to kill me and spare my life for your own devious ways. I see your game. Foul temptress.
So, it looks like that the new Tomb Raider finally got released for PS4.
Yeah, the one that I played and beat all of the stuff on last year.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Like a year ago, because it
was my
came
game
out for Xbox.
It was my game of the year last year.
So it was really good?
Even over Metal Gear, which came out last year.
The first one was one of those like rare instances when I actually like 100%ed a game, which I almost never do.
Yeah, I 100%ed Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's just that good. I will say, like, I liked the constant setting and the island in the first game better. Just my own.
Oh, do you change settings here?
No. You're in one area, but it's way more varied.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just way more varied. But yeah.
The
It's
Heavy
super
Rain.
good. Like, it's just super fucking good. Like, you should just get
Sweet.
it, Nate.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
I'm working on a Christmas list, so I have like 0 extra money. So
yeah.
The Heavy Rain Beyond Two Souls collection is out and it's super cheap.
Still have Beyond Two Souls. Still have not played it from when I bought it last year. And me and Nate were gonna go through it together. Didn't happen.
You did do Heavy Rain, right?
Yeah, I played it on PS3. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
I'm here.
Well, I said stuff. Did you not hear it?
Huh? No. I did. Yeah, I responded. Did it?
I didn't hear shit.
Yeah, I didn't hear
weird.
anything.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Well, what did you say?
Just that. Yeah. No, I have not played it yet either. Heavy Rain was great.
Yeah.
The prequel, like DLC for it, was super creepy.
Oh my
Loved
god,
that.
it was so amazing. Did you ever play Heavy Rain, Jessica?
I did not, but I have seen all of the gameplay for it.
Like you watched the whole game or something?
Yeah, because again, I don't play PlayStation.
Hmm.
You really should
No,
get her a PS4 for Christmas or something.
I bought a PS4 Pro. That'll be here on the 10th, so I will have an extra PS4.
I would not use it.
Just
I would
saying.
refuse.
We're gonna play on multiplayer games on PS4.
You know what
This
I
is-
need? I need a new tablet. That's what I need.
Wait, what do you have against PlayStation? It's like the perfect.
My loyalty resides with Xbox, and I refuse to falter.
And while I agree with her on 360, she's just clearly wrong about the Xbox One.
Hey, I have my gripes about it, but it's still my machine. So.
I don't think we can be friends. I'm just saying.
My gosh.
I'm joking, but
like I wanted to be friends. Yeah.
It's cool.
So good though.
Nate would have to come up for Portland for you to meet him.
This is true.
Yeah. No, but
I'm
it's so
just
good.
content
Like,
for burning you because you weren't on the panel.
yeah, I know.
There were so many times where we would turn to the left and, this isn't the recording. I'm sorry I blasted you so much. Yeah, that'd be a great question if we had somebody here who had an encyclopedic knowledge of the Marvel lore.
Yeah.
Gee, that's a great question, audience member. You know who'd know that? This guy Nate, who decided not to drive up from Portland.
We should have just had him Skype in.
Yeah. I mean, I probably could have just had him Skype in on a speaker. That probably would have been good enough, but I don't know. I didn't think about it too much. And Nate hadn't talked to me until later that afternoon. Actually, no, I guess you
right
texted me
panel?
like a little bit before the panel, and I was like, oh, okay, I see how it is. Typical. Nate starts talking to me after like 2 weeks of silence, right as I'm about to do this thing. Classic Nate. Sorry, man. I do love you. I just wish you would let me know that
I
you're
know.
being a douche. Or just absent.
Hey,
like,
he's the dad. He has excuses.
I know, but they all suck.
Well, being a dad is kind of a full-time thing, Tim.
Well, I mean that he's got a lovely wife. His wife's awesome.
She is. She's very awesome.
Yeah, Jill's a sweetheart.
You know how great she is? We're gonna go see Doctor Strange for our anniversary. I'm super excited about that.
Nice. Very good. Well, then I guess that frees me up to go take my gal to Doctor Strange. Since
All right,
way back in the day when, you were talking to me consistently. We were like, I think it was me and Adam, we were all going to drive down for that. But then obviously plans change, which is fine. We'll figure out something else to get together or something later down the line. Anyway.
Oh, I saw today. Well, I guess we should just talk about it tomorrow. There was some Doctor Strange Avengers thing, but
no. Let's
keep
the Marvel stuff.
Just wait to the next
actual
one.
Fucking Marvel podcast.
Hey, are you gonna get the Arkham VR thing? Do you do the VR stuff?
I have a VR. I've played Arkham VR. It is the most
How is it?
mind-blowing, fucking amazing thing I have ever played.
I hate that stuff. It makes me I get motion sick from it really hard.
Yeah,
Have you
shoved
tried
the
it?
headset on my head.
Have you tried a PlayStation VR, Nate?
No, but I tried that other thing that was for the cell phones, whatever it was called.
Cell phone one's garbage, first of all, and the other two are garbage, in my opinion, because I played all of them back to back at PAX, and PlayStation VR is just 100% better in every fucking possible way.
I'm sure it. Oh, that reminds me. Before we were getting down this path, like my brother-in-law, because we were living with them for a long time, and he's got a 360, and I've got the PS4, and we had them both plugged into the same TV. And we'd like go back and forth playing different games, and
I remember.
And he's like hardcore Xbox fan, and he was saying that PS4 is better.
That's because it is.
So, just
lies
going there, but it's
it's not lies, hon.
It's just super good.
Yeah.
So whatever. I'm surrounded by trash.
Is Arkham VR out already?
Yeah, there's a launch title.
It. Do you have
Tim shoved the headset on my head.
Yeah, I have a couple of full games.
Did you beat the Batman game?
The VR?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only like 2.5 hours long.
Oh, that's really short.
Yeah, so
the reviews are all 5 stars. Wow.
Yeah, because so the first thing about it is like it's clearly using like the same assets from the game, which is a good thing because like one of sort of the problems with VR in general is, at least with the PS4, is like it has to do minimum 90 frames a second to not cause motion sickness for the eyes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so that's a way higher frame rate than 60, so that's really pushing the console. So when there's like new games out, like usually the graphics are like a little lower, unfortunately, but still amazing because I've never been so utterly transported to a world in my life. Like it's amazing. But because it's obviously the Arkham Knight engine assets, like it is the most gorgeous looking thing ever. And like one of the weird things about it is like you're, unlike pretty much every other VR game, you're standing, and the reason you're standing is because you can look down after you put the bat suit on, and you've got your fucking your Batman, your tool belt, and you got your you got your batarang, and you can reach down and you can take a batarang and you can throw it with your hand, and it's just like, oh my fucking God, I'm fucking Batman. I'm in the fucking Batcave. I'm talking to fucking Alfred. I'm solving a fucking crime scene. This is amazing. Like, it's so surreal. And like, you're playing something totally different than even some of the other VRs that are really good and really good VR experiences and really good VR games. Like the opening of the game, like the press start is you're just standing on GCPD with the bat signal looking over Gotham. But because it's VR, you can like, you can like move around a little and like look over the edge of the building and get a little vertigo as you're like, oh shit, I'm really high up, but I'm really not actually high up. Like it's super fucking amazing. I fucking love VR. It's so awesome.
I got sick.
Yeah, she said she got sick, but I was also a dick, and I made her play all the
horror. The horror is fine. I've told you this over and over. The horror is fine. I love horror to death. It was not being able to correlate brain function to my physical body motion. In the game, I'm moving certain ways, but my body isn't physically moving. So I got. My brain was just fried.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna have you try some other VR experiences this weekend that don't do that. So one of the things in the Batman VR to alleviate that for you both. So while you can move your head around and stuff, like you don't actually like move Batman around. You sort of look to where you go, and there's an icon, and you just sort of warp there. And so you're always stationary, whatever you're doing. But you can like turn around and look and all that sort of stuff from that point. So that's a thing. But yeah, no, the thing that I had Jess play was it was Until Dawn: A Rush of Blood, which is their VR experience, which by the way is not very good, and all the reviews have said are not very good. It's basically just they put you on a minecart and like clowns come out and you can shoot guns at them and shit, and it's just really it's silly.
I'll have to check it out sometime. That stuff usually makes me like pretty motion sick, but I still am interested in trying it out.
Well, the thing on that is like you're on a minecart and it's like it's jerking you around and clowns are coming at you, and Jessica already doesn't like clowns, and so it's just...
I fucking hate clowns.
Yeah.
Clowns and bees I can't do.
Yeah, she's just like fucking clowns and like shooting at clowns and shit, and then like it sort of like roller coaster swoop down and just goes like nope. Yeah,
I had to have them stop. Like, okay,
off.
Yeah, I'm too dizzy, and they have you like try to dodge certain things. So I'm moving with that, and then the minecart would jerk the character to the screen in a different way, and my brain just like, okay, nope, it's done.
Yeah. So another point on that, for your edification, Nate. So they have this Formula One racing game thing, VR demo or whatever. And you'd think that one would be like a really good fit for VR because it's like, you control it with a controller, you drive like you normally would drive in any racing game, except you can, look around while you're driving like you would do in real life, right? Except, and for me, this is the only one that I got sick on. The fucking sense of fucking speed is so goddamn real and terrifying that after I finished, like, I mean... I stomached it and I finished the demo, but like I was so like convinced I was going so fast and I was like hitting sides of things and it was just so fucking freaky that I would not go back to that. But I will also say that like the first couple of days with it, like there was definitely some getting used to it because like I hadn't tried that much VR to it, and things that were initially scary or queasy totally are fine now. Like, it's totally fine. And part of that is, getting the right adjustment on the headset for your eyeballs. But anyway, next time you're up or next time I'm down, I'll have to bring it over and you have to like try it and we'll keep a bucket nearby or something.
Yeah. No, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I think if I just...
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's the most fucking amazing thing. Like, I can't even stress to you how fucking cool the Batman thing was. Like, and there's Batman villains in it, and it's like sort of a thing. But it would seem that we are running out of time. Do you want to just like bounce out and I'll end off with Nate, Jessica?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Well, why don't you sign off?
Okay. I'm taking off.
Okay, have a good night.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Bye, Jessica. Night.
Bye.
Cool.
And now it is just us. What were you gonna say, Nate?
I don't remember. We can talk about our crazy fan theories for what in the world is going on in Westworld. But give me 2 seconds. I'm going to let Jill know that we're done recording. She was going to get some ice cream or something.
Sure. Well,
but she don't want to mess with the recording.
We're still recording.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, you can do that. I mean, I don't care at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on 2 seconds.
So the real show's over, folks. We're technically done, but me and Nate are going to talk the shit out of Westworld. If you've not seen up to Westworld on HBO episode 5, I advise you to tune out now because we're going to get super deep into stuff because this shit's cool and I love it, and I've already expressed how much I love it. So that's what's happening on this show. Yep. This fork in your ear business. As I try to vamp while Nate is gone. Not be boring. It is good to have Nate back, though. I will say that for sure. Thank you for listening to a Dynamic Works production podcast. You can find our podcast at www.dynamicworksproductions.com. Feel free to email us at dynamicworks@mac.com.
Dominic Armato, the voice of Guybrush Threepwood, and you're listening to a Dynamic Works production podcast.
There's a Nate. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is
it just me?
Why'd you delay? No, Jessica will be here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Probably just having problems with her phone. She's a 5C, so it's like a little bit behind the times.
Gotcha. I keep waiting for mine to like stop working. Gavin dropped it and like, broke the screen, and it's still chugging along, but I don't know. But I can't afford to go drop a bunch of money on a new one.
Sure.
So, but so are you guys doing it in person, or is she just gonna jump on the phone?
She's on
okay.
She's on the phone.
How far away is she from you?
6 minutes.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. Like, it's like a 10-15 minute round trip.
Dang, that's great.
Isn't that right, Jessica? Woman? You there? Her little thing is all nope. Lost her.
Oh. Dude, Westworld has been really good.
Oh my god. Have you seen it all?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I have. I've never watched the movies. Like the.
She might be here.
Oh, okay.
You hear?
Right.
Is it working?
No, I can't.
Jessica. I see your circle. I hear no sound, Jessica. If you can hear us, we cannot fucking hear you. Like at all. Literally nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, I got nothing.
Awesome.
Well, I'll have to talk like spoilers on it with you later. I don't want to. I would hate to.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I would hate to ruin it, but I've got some theories that I'd like to run by you and vice versa.
Oh my gosh. So I'm super deep. Oh, she says I'm in the call, but I hear nothing.
I don't know. Maybe she can try dropping and then adding back on.
Yeah, I've been adding her. Can you join in progress from an iPhone?
You should be able to. I've done it before. Oh, Jill, can you close his door? I'll get it. We're dog sitting for like a week. The dog is super nice and super quiet. He's like the most mellow, chill dog. But give me 2 seconds.
Did you say you have a dog?
No, we're dog sitting. Hey, Cooper, come here. He's like the world's greatest dog. He's like super quiet, and he doesn't shed, and he just like likes to chill. It's pretty great.
But yeah, no, while she's not here, oh my god, I'm so fucking deep. I haven't been this deep into a show since Lost. I'm I've listened to podcasts. I'm fiddling around with their Welcome to Westworld website, which is really good, which you should check out, by the way.
I should. Yeah.
I've been fucking on the Reddits because I have nobody to fucking talk to about it.
The last time I had a bunch of theories about a show was the first season of True Detective.
I never finished that season, unfortunately.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah.
By the way, I'm looking over at my TV behind me. How sad is it that the PS Plus 50% off game is Until Dawn and it's $9?
Wait, sorry. Give me 2 seconds.
You're doing a podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and start.
I can hear you.
Hey!
We're gonna start like right now.
Oh, good lord.
So, no,
Hey, babe.
Hi.
I did write back.
What happened?
Yeah, I said a Diet Coke, please. And no, you have it.
Oh, that's for you. Wait, who are you talking to, Tim?
That's all I wanted.
Nate's talking to his wife.
And I said, FYI, Gavin, I'm starting my podcast. Gavin's asleep. Cooper's sleeping on Gavin's bed. Which is why. Oh, no worries. Thank you for the drink. He was so good. I haven't taken him potty, though. He was sleeping. Yeah, he's been really good. Anyways. You might want to close that window for now. Oh, yeah, okay, it's cold anyways. I will.
You're quiet for once, Tim.
I'm doing stuff on my end for the show.
Yeah.
Because I didn't set up any of the mic stuff. I mean, it's set up, but it's like tweaking stuff. I'm looking at levels. I'm real lazy. I don't have my studio headphones in. I got my iPhone headphones in. So that's the thing. And then I was just, there was a little mini iPhone update today, right?
No.
Oh, there was. I was just doing that on my iPad. I didn't even know about it until I looked at my phone.
No, that's all I wanted.
I do have an alert. Oh, yeah. Didn't even notice it.
Obviously, do it later.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, obviously later.
Cool. That's good. Okay. So, you've been saying repeatedly for like weeks now, you have no idea how to do this show, even though you've done like 2 of these shows. Is that right, Nate?
Well, I can wing it. I mean, it's kind of free form, isn't it? Or isn't that what we always do anyways?
Pretty much. I mean, we try to keep the categories separate, but I don't think it's going to be that way this week, since me and Jessica will just be talking about what we did before and after Renton City Comic Con.
Cool. No, I mean, there was a couple things I was going to bring up just about like
did you watch
entertainment, gaming, whatever. But
did you watch our Rising Tide stream?
No, not yet.
Oh, lame. We're supposed.
I am.
How long is it?
Shame.
Yeah, I know.
So like a little over an hour, I think. Like barely over an hour.
Yeah. Like we had.
Oh, that's not bad.
We had technically like an hour and a half to do the show, which I didn't really know until I got there. But that was for like overlap time and like setups between panels.
I see.
Because the panel right after us was like robotics. Anyway, we should be talking about this on the show.
I liked all the photos and stuff. It was cool.
Groovy. All right, well, let's start the show. Cut in?
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm really looking forward to that other game that whatever they're called is putting out, Quantic Dream or whoever did Heavy Rain.
Oh yeah, no, what was it like?
Detroit. They changed the name of it, but
like
the robot one.
Yeah, no, I know. Whenever that's coming out.
Oh yeah, who knows? Not anytime soon.
Yeah, that's for sure. I would be quite frankly surprised if we saw it about this time next year. Maybe like 2018 spring, perhaps.
Yeah, who knows?
Like
they seem to do a pretty good job with their stuff, though. So
yeah, no, and everything that they've been saying is like they're Shut the fuck up! What are you doing? Quiet back there. Quiet you.
Oh, I was gonna tell you, I watched this. It's such a good movie. It was called the Signal with Lawrence Fishburne.
Hang on a second. What the... Shut up! Oh my god! Fuck off!
What is that?
I don't have my headset in, so I can't. I see the bars moving. I don't know what you're saying, Nate. Hang on. Okay, I'm back.
What was that?
So like I had my consoles running tonight along with a candle in the background. It's really cold. It's really cold in this room, which is ironic because this room's always so fucking hot when I record. I had my PlayStation on because I was looking at the new PS Plus games. And I was hitting download on that, and they had Until Dawn for $10, and they had Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition for $6, and I was adding it to my cart. And I guess the video was playing while I was at the checkout, so I had to go hit the mute button. And I guess it was just a bunch of Chinese dudes beating the shit out of each other and smashing their faces into fan blades and shit.
Lovely.
So good times. I'm actually adding. I couldn't get any review on it, but I think I'm just gonna take the $25 plunge. There's this game Windlands. It's VR. It's like a bunch of like floaty, Romany looking things and dirt patches in the sky, and it's like non-violent, but in VR, because pretty much everything is first person in VR. You're basically Spider-Man, and so you have grappling hooks on left and right arm, and you're like attaching to objects and like swinging, and where you look and point is like where you grapple to. And I'm just like, that sounds amazing. So, but that's the real problem. Like, I can't find fucking reviews for VR games. Like, there was the initial launch games totally all got reviewed, but anything after that, it's like good fucking luck. Because like that's the thing though about VR games, they're not like a regular game. Like, it's totally subjective. Like, I may have a better experience with a VR game because maybe I tolerate VR more than the next guy. You know what I mean? So
sure.
It's a very, very, very different, very different frontier. That is for sure. So there you go.
Oh, if you get a chance, watch Signal. Good movie.
Oh yeah. So what was the deal on Signal?
So, have you ever seen VHS, the horror anthology movie?
No. Seen The Ring. That had a horror VHS in it.
If you like that type of thing, VHS was really good. But anyways, the only reason I mention that is because it starts out similar. Anyways, kid is tracking this signal, and they get there, and then there's like a big, like almost like an EMP thing, and then he wakes up in this like government like medical facility thing, and he's being like interviewed, and I don't know, dude, I don't want to ruin it, but Lawrence Fishburne's in it, and it's really good. It was really good. Cool. So if you get a chance, watch it. I don't want to spoil it because it was one of those few that totally worth watching.
Okay.
So Westworld, though, I can't figure out who's a robot and who's not.
Oh, you think that's the only problem?
Well, there's lots of issues, but...
Oops, Jessica joined accidentally for a second. And she's gone again. I hope that didn't fuck up the recording. Actually, I should probably check that. Hang on, I'm going to check the file real fast while we're recording. Make sure it didn't create more work for myself. Let's see, date modified name. It's weird. I don't see that there. It says it's recording though. I'm just gonna trust that it's gonna do its job and it's gonna save a thing. Anyway, I haven't had any problems with it lately. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh yeah. So
yeah, no, tell me your theories.
You think that's the only problem? Because I have not been this theory driven on a show since Lost. So,
well, tell me about it, because
since you've seen everything and I can talk about it openly. Also, do you mind if I spoil the original 1960 whatever movie and its sequel?
No, go for it.
Okay, good.
I was gonna see it eventually, but
because now
that's fine.
I'm not entirely convinced that those movies didn't happen in the timeline.
No, I think that because they kind of sort of reference them, sort of, right?
I mean, there's lots of Easter eggs, that's for sure. There's lots of things. Like there's something in last week's episode, not this last Sunday's, but the 4th episode, where somebody does something and they jam the guns because a family's coming to town, and the control room dude's like, jam the guns, throw them in a jail cell, and then let somebody deliver a key and a pie in the morning.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's a straight up reference to the very first Westworld thing. That's definitely a thing. So once again, listeners, if you haven't seen up to episode 5 of Westworld, tune the fuck up. Tune the fuck out. Last warning. Gonna go full deep here. But here is all the Westworld shit that I know. So, first of all, there's the interesting things that were happening with Anthony Hopkins in that other area with the executive lady, right?
Right.
And he demonstrated an omnipotent control of all of the androids or robots or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, didn't he make time stop or make everybody stop or whatever?
Yeah, and he didn't gesture or blink or say a command. So there's theories running around that, does he have some sort of implant or something control them, or he's got something hooked up to his brain or something and control them. Anyway, but it's very interesting because it sort of paints him as a villain, because he talks about how, many people like her have come before and they have come and gone. And he also seems to insinuate that Arnold disagreed with him, and that's why Arnold died, and that maybe, he killed Arnold as well, and all that sort of stuff. And he also indicated that the board member or representative or whatever was already in the park. I believe that board member to be the Man in Black, Ed Harris's character, which is the only name that he has in this series, because his name is being quite hidden because of things. Now, bear with me here. Bear with me here. So you've read no theories whatsoever, Nate? You have no...
just whatever super minor stuff was on EW, which was basically garbage.
Oh, okay.
But I mean,
what did they say? What did they say?
I think the article that I read was just on they were guessing who was a robot and who wasn't.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a hard thing to do.
What I'm show. Really, well, yeah, I totally think that the black dude with the beard, whatever his name is, just got such a innocuous normal name like Roger or something.
Bernard.
Bernard.
Yeah.
I totally think he's a robot, but maybe he's not. I can't tell. And the lady in blue that he's with or whatever. I totally think she's one too. But
okay, so here's the thing. I think one of the many timelines that we're watching, he's actually Arnold, and a more present timeline we're watching, he's a robot.
So you think they're gonna do like so do you think that we're seeing multiple timelines?
100% certain now. So here's all.
Should I have to like rewatch the whole thing now?
Yes. Okay, so here, let me lay it out for you.
By the way, if you like this, you should watch Mr. Robot.
I watched the first season, dude.
Oh, did you watch the whole first season? Okay, good.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I liked parts of it. Other parts I didn't like. It's just so depressing. And then, like, the way it ended, and I was like, how the fuck do you do a season 2 after that? You know? Like,
well, I haven't watched season 2 yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've seen season 1. I saw it all, so I know what you know. Seems people are pretty split on whether season 2 is good or not, from what I hear.
I heard it started rough and got better, but I'm not there yet. So.
I heard they had some like completely unnecessary twists that they then had to like retwist to like get back to a good twist or something of that nature. Anyway, I haven't read anything on it, so I have no idea what season 2 is about. Anyway, so here's all the evidence for multiple timelines. Number 1. So William, the white hat character who's with the black hat dude, Nathan, who's an asshole and always trying to get him to like shoot and whore and rape and stuff, right? Because they're polar opposite people, right?
Right.
One's
the blonde guy and the dark hair guy with
one's
the
yeah.
Right.
Apparently, yes. William, white hat guy, is marrying black hat dude's sister, and from this last Sunday's episode, his company apparently wants to increase their stake in the park, like their ownership of it, right? So here's the first clues that we're watching multiple timelines. 1, the very first episode, we see a Westworld logo, which is the Westworld logo that we are presented with in all like the future sci-fi looking things. It's also the one on the intro of the show. That sort of W with those extra sort of things on either end of the W, right?
Okay.
And that's sort of like a clue. In the second episode, when we're introduced to William, when he gets off that train, they're in the first area where he's with the hosts and they're dressing him and stuff, and he's like, "Are you real?" And they're like, "Does it matter?" And when he gets off the train, there's a different Westworld logo, still sexy, still sleek logo, but it's sort of a W and it sort of bends over itself, sort of like a black and white thing, and it's an interesting and very specific logo. And the only other time that we see that logo is in the Anthony Hopkins flashback where they've done that fancy, expensive CGI to like de-age the shit out of him. And he's like building the robots. And there's that logo there, which is not the logo we see, in the background in other episodes with Anthony Hopkins and Bernard for the most part, and all that sort of stuff. We get introduced to the Man in Black. The Man in Black is very evil. He's known the park a long time. He's very much aware, that Ford runs the place. He had that run-in with Ford in the last episode. And he's onto this tale about Arnold and the maze and what that is. And whether or not, because as far as I can tell, it sort of seems like Ford's making up shit as he goes to keep the Man in Black busy.
Wait, which one is Ford?
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well,
Right.
his whole conversation, like when he confronted him and he's like, "Oh, go for it, go look," It sounds like you're a man on a mission, or whatever he said.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting point there. So that whole thing was very interesting. There's lots of interesting things that happened in that scene. The thing with Teddy, like basically coming back to life after Anthony Hopkins said some words to him, even though he was like bleeding out earlier.
Right.
The whole grabbing the knife thing.
That was pretty cool, actually.
But I want you to pay attention to, what the Man in Black said there about how he believed that, Arnold had one last real story to tell, a real sense of thing, and a real sense of purpose. Right? Like, I want you to particularly hang on to that purpose line there.
Sure. Right? I'm probably gonna have to watch this whole thing again.
He seemed to stress that pretty specifically. And now hold on there. So he also had some talk there about he like felt this place always lacked a real villain, and like, have you finally made me one? And I've sort of tried to do my humble part to play the villain. And Anthony Hopkins had like a chuckle, and he's like, well, who you are sort of betrays not a villain, but a person who's anxious, right? Something to that effect, right? Something like him being anxious. That's very important. You go back to the previous episode, when William with Dolores and the black hat dude Nathan, they've gotten a bandit or something like that, and then the bandit mentions Pariah, which is the sort of like rapey orgy town place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then he kills the sheriff, and he's like, we're going to Pariah. And then he's like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that stuff. Like, because William's all super good and hoity-toity, right? And then Nathan pulls a gun on Dolores. He's like, well, I'll blow her brains out too. If you want, just hurry up and kill her or fuck her or whatever. And then he pulls a gun on the dude who's going to bring him to Pariah. And then, or William does, right? As sort of a threat, like, well, if you kill Dolores, I'll kill your dude that's going to take you to your place, right? And so then William's like, would you just stop trying to like kill and fuck everything in the park? And then and then he's like, see? He's like so happy that he pulled a gun. Like, I told you this park would get to you. Like, even this park could give you a sense of purpose. Okay? So now, go forward to the next episode, right?
Well, wait, but
hold on. Let me just fucking like. I've been waiting weeks to talk to somebody about this stuff. Like, it's been building up. So then you fast forward to this week's episode, and like the whole thing with William happens, and then that whole sequence with him and Nathan happens, and like William almost punches Nathan, and Nathan's real nasty. Like, what are you ever going to amount to? That executive vice president with your shitty suit and like marrying my sister. And then, he backs off. And that's what I thought, like you're never going to be anything more than you are, or some shit like that. Right. And then he runs off with Dolores, and the whole thing happens with the dude and the sort of the plot with the revolutionaries and sneaking the bodies full of the explosives or some shit and all that sort of stuff. But in that last scene, okay, the dude who we thought was bad, who I guess is really working for the good side, apparently, with the body smuggling TNT or whatever, and then Dolores points a gun on the container of stuff that would blow up or whatever. And then he's like, well,
it's supposed to be nitroglycerin.
Yeah, nitroglycerin, my bad. And then he's like, well, you don't want to do that, honey. And then William pulls a gun on him, and then he says to William, well, now that wasn't smart. You strike me as sort of the anxious sort of fella, not really like the villain type or something like that. He says anxious again. Now,
which is a curious word choice.
Go back earlier to that sequence with the Man in Black and Ford in the thing, and he's talking about sense of purpose, and Anthony talking about him being anxious. And when the Man in Black pulled out his knife, and then Teddy grabbed it and stabbed it down on the table, there was a point, ever so slightly, of course, portrayed by a masterclass actor like Anthony Hopkins, where Teddy hands Anthony Hopkins the knife, and he picks it up, and there's a moment of recognition on his face when he looks at the knife, and you can almost see in his face like this old thing, sort of like just ever, like it's like a few seconds long, like go across the face, then he turns the knife around and he hands it back, and he's like, on the contrary, who am I to stop a person of self-discovery? And then he whispers the thing to Teddy, you guys should be on your way or whatever. And Teddy's like, yeah, Wyatt's over here and we should go here and do this thing, So now the reason that that's so important, because it ties it all together, is you watched the, in the weeks to come thing?
No.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't seen the preview for it. No.
Oh, well, you should.
I'm not worried about it, but...
Okay, well... Do you mind if I get into it then?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so in the weeks to come thing after the credits, as opposed to doing a next week on Westworld sort of thing, they did a in the weeks to come, and they did one of those things where it's just like dramatic music, people talking over things, and just like image after image after image of like different scenes. And because I'm fucking a nerd about this shit, like I freeze framed on all the images. There's interesting things going on, shit blowing up, and, looked like some stuff happening with that Maeve character who's, like, rewriting her code or whatever. But the most important scene was a character who was in the same clothes as William. You couldn't see his face, and he whips out a knife, and it looks like he's on, like, some battlefield somewhere, and he's, like, about to kill somebody. And the knife is the exact same fucking knife that the Man in Black has. So the running theory is that we were watching two separate timelines. One of William when he was young and when he first came to the park, and that first possible accident that he even mentioned himself later down the line. And we're watching him as an old man who probably runs Nathan's company now, who owns the fucking park, and he's trying to find the maze. And we are looking at two sides of the same coin, in the character of William being the Man in Black.
Boom. Wait, and which one is William? Is that Anthony Hopkins?
No, William.
The name's all.
Sorry,
the name's all.
William's the white hat character who's goody goody.
Oh,
is the same as Ed Harris's character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, something that has been brought to my attention with some detail now that there's some evidence to support it. We're also watching multiple timelines with Bernard. And the reason that is if you look really closely, and the way it's shot is beautiful. The way the show is shot is just so fucking clever. Every scene, with like Dolores and stuff, like when they're like in their sort of deprogramming or programming mode or whatever, their debug mode, I guess, whatever you want to call it, is either in one of two places. It's either in a really futuristic, like super minimalistic, like glass room with like dark hallways or whatever, or it's in a glass room, but beyond the glass room, you see like something that looks like the bottom of like an insane asylum or a surgery table or something of that nature. And if you look at the clothes that Bernard is wearing in the scenes that take place in that one specific, the room where it's just him and he's talking to Dolores about the maze and he's asking if she wants to be free and she's saying all that sort of stuff, he's wearing older style clothes. His glasses are a little different. His whole thing, like he's wearing older style clothes, and everything in the background is old style looking, like 1950s looking or something of that nature. And it's been established, because I think, what was it, the last episode that opened up with Anthony Hopkins talking to Dolores about the past, right? and saying that because we've known for many episodes that she's the oldest unit at the park. And apparently Anthony Hopkins' character has kept her around because she's the only one who knows what happens to Ford. You know, maybe she killed Ford. Maybe something happened, or not Ford. I'm sorry, who killed Arnold, his old partner, whom he seems nostalgic for. So now going to the whole Bernard thing. In episode 2, there's 2 bits that they did there. Well, 3 bits actually. One was an Easter egg because there's a reference to BioShock, like straight up, actually in Anthony Hopkins' little workroom. There's one of the masks from like the Bunny Splicers in the room in the background.
Okay.
Which they confirmed is a direct reference because the writers said the game's BioShock and Redemption inspired this take on Westworld, which is pretty cool, actually.
Agreed.
So 2 things happened in that second episode. One, Ford, Anthony Hopkins' character, was talking to Bernard, the black guy, about his old partner, Arnold, which hadn't happened up to that point in the series, and talking about how he was worried about Bernard because Arnold had a son that he had lost too, and that, it drove him a bit mad, and he didn't want Bernard to go a bit mad because he'd had a similar circumstance, right? Which may almost be too on the nose, perhaps. But here's the thing. In the background, well, actually, like in the foreground, when the camera pans into that office, there's an old dude who's clearly, one of his robots or whatever at a piano. And he's got a very particular beard. And Anthony Hopkins pulls out a picture and shows it to Bernard. And in that is, the de-aged Anthony Hopkins, and then a guy with a very particular sort of build, and basically looks like a white Bernard. Like the beard is the same and all that sort of stuff. And the robot in the corner, who is white but has that same build and that same beard. So, the theory that I think seems to have some validity and is gaining validity is that one of a couple things is happening with Bernard. One, the older thing we're actually looking at is before everything in terms of timelines that we're seeing, and it's the genesis of what caused Arnold's death, which, as we know from the most recent episode when those guys got into Pariah, that black hat asshole dude was like, Arnold, like, or the original founder, because he didn't say his name then, because he didn't know, apparently he died before this park even opened, which is an interesting note, right? So maybe what we're watching, Bernard being the original Arnold, doing the original coding and doing his thing with the like mercurial mind thing or whatever, which was the thing that was theorized to be at the top of the pyramid of the design of the AI of these androids or robots or whatever. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that Anthony Hopkins did kill his partner, but he, I don't know, like uploaded his consciousness or some shit into like a body of some kind, or maybe designed stuff based off of, his works, and a robot Bernard, like sort of extrapolated stuff to be like a different sort of version of Bernard, perhaps. That's definitely seems like it could be a possibility.
Interesting.
Or it could just be, or it could just be a misdirect. So those are definitely things. This last episode, we definitely got introduced into some other plot lines that we don't know where the hell they're going yet. You know, like the whole thing with the dude, with that one guy who smashed his head in. And then that one gal who's like, am I the only one who thinks something fucking weird is going on here? And then she like did the thing with the pervert dude and then got to the body and like ripped like a giant metal thing out of that guy's arm. And I guess it was...
Yeah, what was that?
And
she said that someone was like data mining or something.
She said somebody was sending data outside of the park. And then on her tablet, it said like GPS data corrupted, or whatever. So that, I don't have anything on that one. That's just like a, hey, here's a new plot line. What up? So who knows what's happening with that one, you know, and who knows what's going to happen with Maeve, who's asked to have some of her shit reprogrammed. So, you know.
Well, and what about like what's going on with Dolores, who's keeps meeting with Bernard like secretly or whatever, and then what was that scene that they did in the last episode where everything was dark green and she's like, don't worry, I didn't tell him. I was like, what?
Well, at some timeline, probably the most current timeline, most future timeline, some sort of like ghost consciousness or perhaps something he programmed in of something. Because the thing that Anthony Hopkins said in episode 2 was Arnold thought that this sort of pinnacle of the AI mind was like a god mind, as though they were hearing, you know, as though they were hearing the words of the gods or something of that nature, right?
Okay.
And somebody is clearly fucking talking to Dolores like a crazy person in her head.
Right.
Even though she's like a robot or an android or whatever. And see, and that's the other thing. Okay. So now, going back to one thing that was sort of a throwaway line, but could be ultimately super important, was the whole thing in, I think it was the most recent episode where the Ed Harris character, Man in Black, killed that one Spanish dude that he'd been lugging around for the whole series so far. And then he's just like, you know, it's sad. I remember when I first came here, I opened one of you up and you were a million perfect little working parts. And now they've made you this sad mess of bones and blood just like us. And you want to know the reason? It was cheaper. So that's an interesting thing to note. Now, that being said, to further expand your knowledge of Westworld, I'm basically just going to give you the plots and the interesting points of the original 2 movies. Hello?
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to plug my fridge back in. Well, keep talking. Okay, so plot of the first Westworld movie. So here's the thing about the Westworld movies. First of all, they don't ever take place from the perspective of the hosts. They're always from the perspective of the humans. The first Westworld movie opens up with like a commercial about Delos Destinations, which is the company that's been mentioned a couple times that owns the park.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, like, what did you think of, you know, like Westworld there? It's like, oh yeah, I was a cowboy and a sheriff and it was the best money I ever spent, you know, and it's like really, because I mean, it was the 60s, so it had a certain sort of way or whatever. It actually wasn't a bad movie, actually. I quite enjoyed the first Westworld original movie, which actually was written and directed by Michael Crichton. It was his first directorial debut, which is interesting of note since he's a prolific science fiction writer. Because you know what all else he's done, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jurassic World and Timeline and 1,000 other fucking things. But yeah, so the original movie is two dudes who are going to Delos Destinations for the first time. One of them is a dude who's been there many times and like knows the ins and outs of the park and like all the sort of stuff. The other dude's like never been there before and he's kind of goody-goody, and the other dude's trying to get him to go bad with him like the whole time. And so it's basically the two dudes from the show. Like that's like the movie is these two dudes in Westworld. But the thing though is there's other worlds. Like Westworld isn't the only thing. There's Westworld, there's Roman world, and then there's medieval world. And in the original movie, there is a Butte Mesa Tower thing where everybody's there and stuff. And all of the hosts are full robots, like real robots with like parts and stuff, and when they get injured, they like replace parts on them and computer chips and all that sorts of thing. Like their control room, which is somewhat similar to the control room in the HBO show, like there's like hundreds of people and they're like micromanaging like every single thing that all of the robots are doing, and it sounds like an air traffic controller thing, like like, all right, guess the shooting now, all right, lower arm by 25 degrees, increase it, percentage, and they're all talking really fast and all that sort of stuff. And so anyway, basically, most of the movie is like, it sort of shows you Westworld, and like it sort of goes deeper into that fantasy, and it's basically sort of like a cheesy version of the adventure that the HBO characters, the white hat and the black hat guy, are going on with Dolores. And like the thing with the key happens, like he shoots a dude, but then the sheriff comes and grabs him, and he's like going into jail, and he's like, well, this is stupid. And the black hat dude's like, don't worry about it, and he goes and pays an Indian to put like some dynamite in a pie, and then he like blows up, and they become outlaws, and they run out into the out into the west. And they're out in the west, and they're hooting, they're hollering, they're having a good time, and they see a snake, right?
Okay.
Hang on, Jessica was texting me. And they see a snake, and like the white hat dude's like, is that a real snake? And then he's like, nothing's real in this park, man. And they start shooting the snake, but they miss shooting the snake, and then the snake, I don't know, it was like a rattler or something like that, and then the snake like leaps up and latches onto the black hat dude's arm and like fucking cuts him and like draws blood and stuff, and he's like, oh, what the hell, this shit's not supposed to happen, I'm gonna have words with the upper management, and he's like trying to shake the arm off, and then meanwhile they're going back to the control room, and they're like, what's going on? Why did it just hurt a guest? That's never supposed to happen. And they're all like, what's going on? Like, somebody get the stagehands out there, which is what they called them. Somebody get the stagehands out there to like bring that back in for testing. We need to figure out what the hell's happening immediately. And so they bring this snake in, and they're like, well, can't seem to see anything wrong with it. It just seems like the logic in like the AI board thing or whatever, like it just failed to logically recognize that the guests are, non-attack or whatever. He's like, that's really weird or whatever. And so then like the white hat and the black hat dude, like throughout the whole point of this thing, the Yul Brynner character is like he comes up to them multiple times at this point in the movie, like about 4 times, and he's like a villain basically, and he's dressed in all black, and it's sort of vaguely similar to the way that the Ed Harris character, the Man in Black, is dressed.
Okay.
But anyway, he usually starts a tussle or whatever, punches one of them, and then one of them shoots him or whatever. And they've killed him like 4 times at this point in the film. And so they're like riding back to town to like get some like first aid help or whatever. And the Yul Brynner dude like is coming up, and he's like coming up and he's like, draw. You know, and then like, we don't have time for this. You know, like we need to get like my friend some first aid. And then Yul Brynner just like fucking straight up shoots the black hat buddy or whatever who's been there before. And the white hat dude's like, what? And you can like see like the blood like squirting at him. And it's funny because like it's a much older movie, and so special effects were limited or whatever. And so but it's interesting because it was actually a stylistic choice. I see that after I've seen the movie. Like whenever they shot any of the robots, like they would always like squirt out blood, but it looked like super red, like paint blood, like super cheesy, like super fake or whatever. But when Yul Brynner shoots his friend, like real blood, it looks pretty real. Like starts squirting out and stuff, and it's like, oh wow, that went way dark there for like a second in this old movie, you know, because it's just totally different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To contrast it, and then like the dude in white is like, oh shit, and then basically Yul Brynner turns into a Terminator, and like the movie goes really fucking dark at that point. It basically just like flips. It goes from, oh, this is a cool kind of wonderful fantasy, and we're seeing sort of cool things, and these are sort of interesting things, and then it just goes full on horror at that point.
Uh-oh.
You know, kind of like, really kind of like Jurassic Park, ironically, because you know Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton, all that stuff. But it's interesting because like this is like 20 years before fucking the Terminator. And Yul Brynner is totally doing the Terminator thing, and you even like see through his eyes, sort of thing, like Terminator did. And it's like, oh, this is interesting. Sort of comparison to Terminator. But the other thing about the movie, though, is like that's not the only storyline that's going on at the same time. Like there's a B storyline, which in some ways is sort of the main storyline, because while this is going on in Westworld, there's other stuff that's actually worse that's happening in Roman world and medieval world. And there's this B story of, you know, it starts with the 2 dudes and they're like flying in on some fucking hovercraft thing or whatever into wherever this place is located on Earth, right? And, you know, you spend some time with those front characters, the white hat and the black hat. But there's this like old married couple. And she's like, well, I want to go to Roman world. And he's like, well, I really want to try medieval world this time. And they have like an argument about it. And then like when they're going their ways to their shuttles to the different worlds, she's like, well, fine, I'm going to Roman world. And he's like, fine, you go to Roman world. I'll go to medieval world and I'll have a good time, you know, or whatever. And they're like mad at each other or whatever. And she goes off to Roman world and like has a bunch of orgies and sex and shit, and it's, you know, it's not a particularly good plot. And then he goes to medieval world and he like seduces a queen, but then his eye catches on like some handmaiden that's like way sexier, and he tries to like have sex with her, but she refuses him. And then at the control room they're like, oh, that was really weird, a host isn't supposed to refuse a sexual advance from a guest. That's bizarre. Bring her in for, you know, evaluation or whatever. And then there's this scene where there's like a board of directors and there's like a chief scientist dude who doesn't really have a name or whatever, and he's talking to these like board of directors, and they're just like, what's going on? Like, we heard about this snake thing because that's about the time of the story when those stories happened. You know, and we heard like a robot refused a sexual advance from the guest, and the doctor dude was explaining that, you know, like the park's been open for like a little while now, and like these are very advanced robots, and in some cases we used other robots to build parts of the robots, and we're not entirely sure what some of those components do in the robots. And the board's like, that's weird. And then and so like this old fat dude is like the queen finds out or whatever that like he was like trying to kiss her handmaiden or something, and so then like a Black Knight challenges him or whatever, and like he starts fighting a Black Knight, and but he's like a fat old dude, and he's like not keeping up to this Black Knight robot, and they're like sword dueling, and he's like panting and he's like struggling and stuff, and then the control room's like, all right, lower his defensiveness, make him weak on his like left eye, make sure the host or the guest can win. And then the Black Knight just fucking rams him through with the sword, and they kill him. The control room's like, oh, fuck! Like, shit! Like, what's that supposed to happen? Somebody get the doctor down here! And it goes completely batshit at that point. And it's about that time that the Yule Blender dude comes in and shoots the friend, and, like, the control room's panicking, and they're like, cut the main power to the grid, like, to do the thing. And they're like, we have! Some of them are the newer models. They're running on batteries. Some will shut down in an hour, others will run for 12 hours. What do we do? And they're just like running around with they're like so fucking panicked. And then he's like, we'll seal the complex and like cut like the power to the entire facility, make sure like everything's locked down. And they cut the power and like the doors seal down. And like, so the whole control room and the doctor who like made this shit or whatever, like there's a moment of pause where they're just sitting in darkness. And some dude in the back is like, Isn't this a sealed facility? Like, do we have air? And the doctor just sort of looks at him grimly, and he's like, we don't. And so everybody fucking suffocates. Like, who's running the fucking park? Like, they just all suffocate. Park goes to shit. Roman world kills every fucking buddy. Like, everybody kills everybody else while having sex. Medieval world goes ape shit. And then the story sort of catches up to the white hat dude being chased by Yul Brynner, and like he chases him so far into the west that he actually like runs through like everybody's death in Roman world, like everybody's dead there, and he's like hiding from him, and he's chasing him and shooting him, and then he eventually like finds his way into the complex and into like the repair room of the thing, which is fairly similar to like the repair room in the HBO series. And like he like throws like acid on the Yul Brynner villain guy, and it like fucks up his sight. But like earlier in the movie they'd like replaced his like sound hearing board or whatever, so he's got like really good sound. And at that point it sort of turns Predator on this, and it's like based on like sound and sort of like heat motion or some shit.
Okay.
And he like runs to Roman world, and he's like hiding next to like fire candles or some shit to like throw off the sensor. And there's like points where he's like standing right in front of him, but he doesn't know he's in front of him, and he's trying not to breathe. And then Yul Brynner turns around, and it goes like, it's like full on like, it's like proto Terminator Predator at that point, which is actually kind of cool. But then he like catches him on fire, and he stabs him with the Black Knight's sword, and he like burns him, and then he's like dead. And then he's like, he's finally safe. Like the dude's totally dead. Like robots like all like on fire and melting and fucked up and stuff. And then there's a gal, in like the dungeon or whatever, hollering for help. And so the white hat dude comes down, and then he's like, I'll get you out of there, and then she's like so panicked and stuff, and he's like trying to like calm her down and stuff. He's like, I'll get you some water, and she's like all crying and stuff, but he's like, thank you, you're so kind. And he's like, here, you should drink this water. And she's like, no, don't give me the water. And he's like, it's okay, just have a sip. And like he gives her the water, but then she's like a robot, so she like short circuits, and then he's just like stunned, because at this point he's like totally alone in Westworld. That like just the sort of camera like just pans out from there, and that's where the movie ends.
Weird. Okay.
But like two other things of note from that first movie. One was when the white hat dude first got to Westworld, he was like, "Well, how do you know who's human and who's not?" And then he's like, "Well, you could shoot them, and then they, you could shoot them, and if they blow up or get shot, then they're a robot, and if they're human, your gun won't work." And he's like, "Well, how do they do that?" And he's like, "Well, they have infrared sensors on the guns, so any sort of heat, if it's a strong enough heat source, then they don't shoot." And then he's like, "Go ahead, shoot me," and he does, and it doesn't do anything, and then, you know, he figures out that works. And then he's like, "Well, is there any other way to tell if they're robots?" And he's like, "Well, they've advanced really far, but the only thing they haven't been able to get right is the hands." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And then he's like, "Look," and he like pulls him over to like one of the robots, and he's like, "How you doing, sir? Can I see your hands?" And he's like, "Sure, sir." And he shows him his hands, and the hands basically, like, everything about them is obviously, you know, like a human and looks real or all that sort of stuff. But their hands look like, you know, the points of your fingers or joints on your hands where you would like move. There's basically like a rubber line there, sort of like, you know, the roll on a balloon or a condom or something. You know, that almost looks like it's a little bit like a fake rubber glove or something.
Okay.
And he's like, "See, there you go." And then there's like one other scene where he finally got the white hat to like have sex with a whore, and like she's all sweet and stuff, and they're having sex, and it's kind of an okay scene for like a 1961. But then like it got really creepy because there's a point where, you know, he was on top of her, and then, you know, she was on top of him, and they're taking clothes off, and then her hands are on his back, and you can clearly see that the hands are like fake, and it just gets really creepy. And it's just like, okay, that's funky. So in terms of the first Westworld, yeah, it's entirely possible that there's other worlds, and I think that was a question that was asked of them in at Comic Con, you know, if they were going to do other worlds. And I watched those episodes again with my friend that I was staying with last night, and he's a cinematographer, and he's been to Rome. And he said, because I had made him aware that there were multiple worlds, because he's not a fan of the West, and he's like, "Are there other worlds to this shit? Because I fucking hate the West part of Westworld. Like, I like the sci-fi stuff, but West is boring to me." And I was like, "Well, in the old movie, there was Roman and medieval world." But anyway, that scene with Anthony Hopkins in HBO show where, you know, he's talking to the chick. Like, my friend Jay was like, "Oh, he's building Roman world." And I was like, "What? Why would he say that?" He's like, "Because they laid out oil and wine and the way the place setting was and the design of that thing. You know," he's like, he's building Roman world. And then I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I've been to Rome. Like, that's how all that shit looks over there, man." And he's like, the way the food was and all that stuff. And then I was like, "Well, what about the android or whatever that said senorita? Like, it's like Spanish, you know? And then what about the thing that the girl said about like how, oh, you know, I came here as a little girl, and I think I sat at this table, or maybe that one or whatever." And then Jay was like, "Well, obviously Roman world existed before." And then I started thinking like, oh, maybe the original movie did happen. Like, you know, like for real, you know what I mean? And maybe he was sort of steamrolling Roman world to make a new world of some kind. Which leads me to the future world thing, which I'll just go over super briefly. Super good special effects for its day. absolutely terrible acting. Just garbage. And the fact that the movie just ends, and the fact that it had absolutely nothing to do with Michael Crichton whatsoever, but pretty good sci-fi right up until the end. So the gist of the Future World movie was like two reporters get asked to come back to the grand reopening of Delos Destinations. And the park's been closed down for like 20 years or something like that after the Westworld incident, as they referred to it in the movie. And they assure everyone that like all of the kinks have totally been worked out from that whole like robots killing everybody thing glitch that was in the system. And so that like these reporters come and they're like, welcome to our new Delos Destinations, where we have even more worlds to explore. And they had Future World, they had Spa World, which was for like old people, and they like drug them into thinking that they're young, and they go on like young things again or something. It's a little lame.
Okay.
They had Roman World again, they had Medieval World again, and then they had a sign. They had a sign on the Westworld dome that was like, Westworld, coming soon. So like it just sort of glossed over that point. And like they had like Future World, and you know, they went and explored Future World, and like they go up in like a fake rocket and into a space station and skiing on Mars and all that sort of stuff. But these reporters are like trying to do some digging to like figure out some stuff because like, I don't know, some dude got murdered or some shit. And so one of the reporters was like, yeah, something's fishy. I gotta fucking investigate this shit. But one thing of note in that thing, because I totally think they're definitely taking some elements from Future World based on the stuff I'll say next. When they went to, because there's like 20 minutes of movie before they actually get to the park. Like when they fly to the park, they mention that they're landing in like something Stan or whatever. Like I pulled up the captions and looked it up. It was like a fake. It's like a fake country, but it sounds like wherever the park is located is like in the Middle East, perhaps. Or something, you know, in the middle of nowhere. So that was the thing. I thought that was an interesting tidbit. So they like go around and they like start like exploring and stuff, and like the one big difference with these robots is like they're totally aware that they are robots, and they're like there to please the people. And anytime anybody asks about Westworld, like the robots are just like a really canned response about like the Westworld tragedy was really bad, you know, and like we made sure that all of the affected families got appropriate compensation, and all of the things have been fixed since then with revised software updates. I myself am like a 507 model capable of blah, 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 you know, sort of thing. And
I see. Okay.
That was interesting. And so they like they sort of like explore some other worlds, and there's a little bit of a B plot with Roman World again and Medieval World and the Spa World thing, which the Spa World was dumb. And like the reporters sort of put together that like there's like a bunch of like high level like, you know, congressmen and political figures and generals and stuff of like different places like all over the world, and they're like, that's sort of fishy. And then you know, and they're given like a backstage pass, and they get to like walk through the control room and see how the robots are repaired and all that sort of stuff. And there's a point where they sort of sense that something is up with the people who are running Westworld, right? And so it's a guy and a gal, journalist reporter, and he's like, hey, why don't you try to make a move on that guy over there? I'll distract this head boss from Delos, who was the guy who had us fly out here or whatever. He's sort of guiding them around. And then so she goes and tries to make some move on a guy, and he's just like totally like, I'm sorry, I can't do that, ma'am. I have a job to do. or whatever, and he's just like totally like very robotic about it. And then like they get like gumptious or whatever, and so then she slaps them or whatever, and they don't respond, right? And these are all the dudes like who are at the control center of the fucking park. And then they're like, "What's going on here? What are you trying to pull here, Dallas?" And it's like, "Oh," and he's like, "I should have told you. Turns out the original park, was the humans running it. Everyone in here is a host, and they are programmed to run the park with 0.0001% efficiency, of error rate or whatever, right? And they feel a little creeped out by that, and that's a little weird. And so then they go to their sort of hotel or something that's not in any of the worlds or whatever, but it's like in the complex. And then the dude like sneaks out of there, and there's sort of like this shitty plot where they like find a real engineer who's like a human or whatever, because when they're like running, and they're basically running around like some fucking shitty low budget set for the rest of the movie. But basically like a bunch of shit happens that's really fucking stupid, and they find out that they are making clones of a sort of all of the dignitaries, including the reporters, and they plan to replace all of the key figureheads of the world and like take over the world. And then some action ensues, and like some people get some guns, and like the lead dude shoots the head Delos dude, and then it's revealed that he's a robot running like the whole fucking thing, however the fuck that happened. And then there's like a point where they're getting some data, and they're finding out that well, there's a point where like the reporter chick and the reporter guy, they're fighting clones of themselves or whatever. And the clones are talking to them about how they're exactly like them. All their memories are copied. Everything is exactly the same, and except that they're faster, stronger, and better in every way. And then also programmed to follow whatever the hell the head dude's commands are or whatever. And then they eventually triumph or whatever the hell, and they're like, okay, cool. And then there's like a point where they're like going home with all the clone dignitaries or whatever. And then they're just like, yeah, we've got a story to tell. And then the movie ends, and then it's just like, but you didn't do anything. You just killed your clones and went home with all the other clones who are now going to control parts of the world. You fucking suck. Like, you guys are awful. But anyway, that's what happened in Future World. And so I think like the whole point in the HBO thing of like they made them flesh and blood, they're basically like 3D print cloning them, and they have like some sort of like robotic implants to control them to varying degrees and program their memory and all that sort of stuff. So it's very interesting.
That dual timeline thing is super interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder about that. I'll have to rewatch it now.
I'm 100% convinced of the dual timeline. I don't know about a third timeline with Bernard, who may be Arnold, who may not be Arnold, who may be a robot, who may not be a robot. And that's the thing, though. Like, the Man in Black in the HBO show has confirmed that when he first came there, they were robots. They were literally robots just like Westworld. And then, I guess, in more current times, they're not anymore. They're flesh and blood. Much like the clone thing from Future World. And we also know from the producers that they've plotted out a 5-season arc. And I just want to point out, in Future World, there was Westworld, Medieval World, Roman World, Spa World. Wait, Future World? Wait, no. Future World? Future World, Westworld, Medieval World, Roman World, Spa World. That's 5. Just point that out. So maybe each season will be a different world, perhaps.
Interesting.
That's a complete off-the-wall theory based purely on the fact that I saw the movies. And I'm grasping at straws. But when they were asked at Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, they're like, well, what about the other worlds? And Jonathan Nolan said, well, we're real big fans of Roman World. So that's all he said at Comic-Con. So, whether that's another season, whether that's what's happening, we're only halfway through the series. So, a lot of stuff has happened in 5 episodes. So a lot more stuff could happen in 5 episodes. Who knows what the ultimate thing is,
Yeah, well, I'm glad that it's that they're continuing, with future seasons, so that it's not just a limited thing.
Well, and the other thing on that is I listened to Decoding Westworld podcast, and which is a good podcast, by the way. I do recommend it, even to our Fork in the Ear listeners. They had the director of the 4th episode on, and they had a nice talk with him, and he had some very interesting things to say, because he actually didn't know anything. He was saying, yeah, they're super secretive on the script. They only gave me a shooting script. The final episode that came out had scenes in it that I didn't shoot, which he thought was kind of weird. He says, but I also shot that episode 2 years ago.
What?
Right?
Wow.
I know, right? So what I'm thinking, based on what he said there, is I wonder if they shot the series, it wasn't good enough, and they added this dual timeline, because they could have easily shot that stuff with, well, either characters, really. They could have either shot the Ed Harrison and Bernard stuff and Anthony Hopkins stuff this year, or they could have shot it 2 years ago. We don't know. You could have shot the other storyline those years ago. That's interesting. You know what I mean? And you have to ask yourself, if they shot that 2 years ago, does that mean they've got another season ready to roll, basically, and they're already way down the production timeline on it? Which, I wouldn't necessarily put past. That's a fairly smart move.
True. Yeah, no, I wonder.
But I don't know. It's interesting. But he was like, yeah, no, he says it's weird. The actors didn't get, well, no, I guess if he did shoot it 2 years ago, he did say he shot the scene with Anthony Hopkins. And he said he remembered specifically having, a conversation with Anthony Hopkins that Anthony Hopkins had brought up about freezing all of the droids or whatever, at the, the scene with the gal, and Anthony Hopkins was like, well, should I do a little hand gesture because I'm controlling them all? And because they weren't allowed, the actors were not allowed to read anything but their characters, which is sort of extreme. And then I guess somebody from production came in and said, no, you make no hand gesture. And that was something that the director was able to say about that shooting.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
well, I think it's smart, though, that they're trying to be really secretive with it, because obviously there's a big mystery to solve, and they're trying to be really closed mouth about it.
Sure.
Which I can appreciate.
And I just hope whatever it is, it's really good, because I'm having a really good time with the secrets and stuff. And a combination of J.J. Abrams producing and having a long history of mystery. And Jonathan Nolan, who, younger brother to Christopher, co-wrote a lot of his shit, did Person of Interest, helped with The Prestige, he's good at these things.
I thought I recognized the name on it.
Oh yeah, you didn't recognize Jonathan Nolan?
No. I mean, I kind of partially did. I mean, I wondered, but I didn't IMDb it or anything.
Alrighty. Well, do you got anything more to add? Because I should totally go, because I got to get up at 5 tomorrow.
Yeah, I got to get up really early too. But now it makes me want to rewatch them and try to take notes.
I've seen each episode now multiple times, and I'm just like, man, this is a way smarter show than I gave it credit for initially. It's deep, dude.
Well,
I'm glad, honestly. I like that kind of shit.
I do too. I'm really glad because I don't think there's enough of that makes you think and try to figure out what's going on. I think if you gave it a shot, you can do a lot of the same type of digging and theory crafting with the first season of True Detective. There was a lot of it that was based on some H.P. Lovecraft stuff and a book called what was it called? The Yellow Sea or something like that. And there's some crazy theory stuff behind the show. The first season, second season, not so much, but I did a lot of digging on that one and it was a lot of fun. So it's there if you look for it. So. Alrighty,
man. So I'll catch you tomorrow for Rising Tide.
All right, sounds good. Sure. I got to catch up. I'm super behind on the show.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, way behind on the show. But I'll see what I can do.
How behind?
3 episodes, I think.
Oh, Jesus, Nate.
I know.
Okay. Well, the second of those 3 episodes, because I haven't seen this week's yet. Last week's was really good. It was surprisingly good considering the write-up was it was so fucking simple and stupid. It was the agents break into a prison, and I'm like, that sounds dumb and boring. But it was super awesome. It's super awesome one-liners. It advanced the plot. Good Ghost Rider stuff. Good there's some shit finally happening with the main storyline. It seems like.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm super curious for this week's. I mean, I'm really behind, so I need to catch up. But all I know, I heard there was a second Ghost Rider in this week's, which is very curious to me.
Well, thanks for the spoilers, because I haven't seen it.
No, I don't know anything about it.
I heard something big related to Ghost Rider was a thing this week. I know people are talking about it, but it's I haven't seen it yet, so it's okay. Not there yet.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So will you be able to catch up, though?
I don't know. I'm going to try.
Okay, try hard, Nate. Great talking to you about Westworld because nobody else is fucking watching it. I mean, my friend's watching it, but he's like, I don't give a shit about these theories. The show's all right. And I'm like, man, fuck you.
No, that's the part of it that really interests me of the show is the crazy backstory stuff. I mean, the show is okay. It's a fun show, but it's all the crazy theory stuff that I really like. So
yeah, man, it's good stuff.
I'll try to rewatch them though, and see if I can
watch Shield first, because tomorrow. So
okay, man. Well, I'm gonna run. Have a good night.
Alrighty, Dean. Sleep well. Peace out.
Thanks.
Hopefully see you tomorrow.
See you. Bye.
Bye.